What up, Panther fans? This is the C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. It is the hottest Panthers podcast, bringing you that Carolina talk from the fan perspective. I'm happy to be here tonight. Merry Christmas to my best bro, Joey Riolano. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm so good, Tony. Merry Christmas back to you and your family. I'm excited. I was on Falcons PFC, I think it's called, last night with Scott Karasik, and I believe it's Aaron Moore.
I think it's Falcon Central Radio, right?
That's it, Falcon Central Radio. I think that is what it is. I had a good time on the show. Those guys were very knowledgeable when it comes to the Falcons. We all know Scott is. And they asked a lot of good questions about the Panthers. Of course, they predicted the Falcons to win, and I predicted the Panthers to win. I'm really, really pumped up for this game. I cannot wait until Sunday. It's going to be my Christmas. Sunday will be my Christmas. I'll spend Christmas with the family, but mine is coming Sunday.
And I hope the gifts. I hope you get nice gifts in your stocking and not some coal. I'd like to welcome Joey. Say the title, because Joey's the aficionado of titles.
First and Ken.
First and Ken. Tell him the official title.
He is the editor-in-chief at large. Ken
for Carolina Cat Chronicles. Ken, how you doing? Merry Christmas, man.
Merry Christmas, Tony. Merry Christmas, Joey. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing wonderful. It's a happy time, strangely, to be a Panthers fan after so much misery this season. So I'd like to go ahead and just kind of put in the opening shticks that we got to do. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at @cat_chronicles, like our Facebook page, Carolina Cat Chronicles. And if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and sub up. But if you prefer to listen later at the gym or the car, make sure to download us on iTunes or Stitcher. You can get there easily by going to our website, selecting the podcast tab, where it gives you an option for iTunes, Stitcher, or TuneIn Radio. Be sure to give us an upvote while you're there to help grow Panther Nation. You can live tweet the show at #C3. Great news also for any Amazon shoppers out there. You can help C3 grow by shopping Amazon with no added expense to you. Just go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and click the Shop Amazon tab. It takes you to Amazon.com. You shop. They give us a small reward for sending you there. It's that easy. It's that simple, so no added cost. Great stuff on Amazon for you, and you help a small business grow. That's it. Boy, I'm winded, fellas.
One more, Tony. One more.
I'm saving it for the mid game.
Oh, are you? Okay.
All right, I got it written out. I'm ready to go. This is the C3 podcast, ready to jump in, rip-roaring Panthers. Guys, it's for the marbles, for all the marbles. We're going to Atlanta to determine our fate. Joey, tell us the state of Carolina, the Carolina Panthers, and what's on the line this week.
Well, like your sign says back there, for the marbles, for all of the marbles this week. Carolina is in a situation, it's win and in. Lose and you're going to watch the playoffs from your couch. So they know what's on the line. Carolina, since I want to say 2012, I believe, is a very impressive 11-2 in December-January games. That is the highest winning percentage in those 2 months in NFL history. Just to let you know. So we've got a lot going for us here. Yes, for those 2 months of any team. That's the highest winning percentage for those 2 months in any team.
It was 14-3 over a different span, but similar. So
right, it's really impressive. That's really impressive. There's so much to say about this game. I think it's so fitting, Tony, for me personally, with all we've had to overcome this year, that this game is on the road in Atlanta. And it's a win, and we're in. With overcoming the injuries, the questionable play calling, the suspension of Greg Hardy, the suspension of Frank Alexander, who's back, by the way, so everything's going to be okay.
It's A-okay.
It's just fitting to me that this game is taking place in the Georgia Dome. and we get a chance to go down there, beat them in their house, and then take it to the big dance. So
I
I'm
agree.
really excited.
Adversity seems to be something that galvanized this team late in the season. It took us a long time because we faced the adversity early, but it really took us a long time to find the right magic potion to get this team the right plug and play of the players, the right experience, the right game situations. So I think that this would be an important test mentally for the Carolina Panthers and to help us understand what they're made of. And really, it's important for this to be like this anyway for a team that's going to be below 500. You need something like that to galvanize you going into playoffs to even have to not be embarrassed. Ken, what do you think about this matchup going in? Not necessarily breaking down the game, but the context of the last week against in the I-85 rivalry. How do you see this in the narrative of this season?
Well, nobody gave us much of a chance coming in, and a lot of people were picking. Most everybody's actually picking the Saints. A few would pick the Falcons, but hardly anybody gave us much consideration. And to go into their house, and if we can go in their house and win this game, that's just the icing on the cake. Gives us a lot of momentum. Even 7-8-1 going into the playoffs. Hey, it's not how you drive, it's how you arrive, man. If you get hot, we've talked about it. The New England Patriots, their undefeated season, regular season, and then they're playing the 9-7 Giants, who struggled, just to make the playoffs, and David Tyree's helmet catch later, and who wins?
Right.
So you get to the playoffs with a hot team. That's really what's really more important than the record. Like Coach Ron said, once you get there, everybody's 0-0. Regular season doesn't mean anything. So it's all about how you are at the time. By the way, we got the live mascot over my shoulder here.
I like it, Panther.
That's Panther. Yep, that's Panther. So.
I think that what we get to with this is that when you get in the playoffs, what you realize is that everybody's season is boiled down to certain plays, to certain moments. We've heard Ron Rivera say this over and over throughout the season. It was one play. It was one play. And so what you get is, you're one play away from losing and you're one play away from winning.
It was one play.
So the idea is that if we could just capitalize on and that's what the New York Giants were able to do, and that's what the David Tyree catch symbolizes. It's a moment found rather than lost, or captured rather than lost.
Mm-hmm.
So what we have is an opportunity, but we can't look past this week, even though I'm already wanting to in so many ways. Let's talk about the team we saw, though, this past week with the Panthers on a 3-game winning streak. Is that correct?
Yep, that's it.
It's hard to even say it. Like it just feels wrong coming out of my mouth at some moment. But on a 3-game winning streak, what do you see? Ken, I'll let you start first. What did you see about this team that you liked coming out of that Cleveland game? Were there any kind of symbolic moments of something that represented what you're excited about this team going forward?
I think if you want to talk about a symbolic moment, it'd have to be that Jonathan Stewart run at the end. The offensive line's been maligned, and pretty rightly so, all year, whether it be injury or lack of talent or moving people around or a combination of all, or youth. The offensive line just hadn't played well all season, but now they seem to kind of found themselves a little bit, and they're maybe getting into their stride, and I think they're on the rise a little bit as a unit. Again, who knows exactly why? Maybe Trey Turner's, he's been playing better in the last few weeks. Maybe that's galvanizing people. Who knows exactly why? But just be thankful that it's going on. We finally got healthy running backs, a couple of them. we're peaking. It seems like the right time, and that Jonathan Stewart run at the end just kind of put the exclamation point on hey, we're here, and that's a good thing to see. And Joey, your excitement really does come through when you're talking about it. You are pumped, I can tell.
Oh yeah, man, I am juiced, and it's only Tuesday, and I am ready for this game. I cannot wait. This is. I was on the don't win any more games, go after the draft pick bandwagon just a mere 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But the way the team has played, it'd be different if we were playing ugly and just barely winning games. The way we played at St. Louis, I'm sorry, the way we played at New Orleans really just got me so excited because we saw that showed how good this team can be. And if we see that team play, we're tough to beat.
Yep.
And I'm hoping that that's a team that shows up in this playoffs. Because if that's the case, then nobody's going to want to play us. Nobody. I don't care if we have to go wherever. Nobody's going to want to play us. And that's what's got me so pumped up, man. The way our defensive backs have played, we got these young kids in there that are making plays. Our defensive line is finally coming together. Our offensive line is playing like the offensive line we thought we would have. Remmers, Norwell, those guys have come in and made a huge impact. Trey Turner has come in and really played like the guy we drafted. That's the guy we were looking for when we picked him. It's just got me excited, man. It really has.
Oh, the guy with the most experience is the biggest liability on that offensive line. I want to speak for this on just a minute. T Money just tweeted Pro Bowl rosters announced. Olsen and Luke made it. No Khalil. So we've found a way to squeak out 2 Pro Bowlers. I'm glad that Greg Olsen made it. He's one of those guys that he's not flashy. He doesn't run after the catch. I mean, it's just that simple. And so he doesn't make any highlight reels, but he's like Mr. Reliable. And that has been a big tremendous help for Cam Newton. So it's nice to see him rewarded with that. I want to speak for a moment on these young players. And Joey, you mentioned some names. You mentioned Norwell. You mentioned Remmers, who I still constitute as young since he hasn't played but 3 NFL games, and they've all been with the Carolina Panthers. You've got Norman as the veteran cornerback on the field. Ben Wickery, Trey Turner, Coney Ely. The names continue to go on. Kawan Short, Star Latule. There's so much. We've asked so many young kids to play important roles on this team, both on offense and defense. How do you think they've done with that so far?
I think it's been a learning experience. The good thing is, from week 1 to this point in the season now, these are not true rookies anymore. They have 99% of a full season under their belt. They've done the same routine week in, week out. They know they got to study film. They got to go through the practices. So this isn't something that's foreign to them anymore. And we have seen the progression. It was rough going for those young guys early in the season, but they've caught it. They've gotten it. It's clicking now. So they're able to show why we drafted them. We're able to see and on the field their abilities. It's not as much as thinking as it was at the beginning of the year. Now it's just reactionary. They see and they go. And that is exciting to me, to see the progression of these young guys, to see that they're able to make an impact at such a young age. Josh Norman in particular, he was in Ron's doghouse last year. Preseason All-Pro, never could translate it to the regular season. He is making plays. He's incredibly athletic, That interception he had against the Browns, that was an amazing pick. He's got to learn to carry the ball the right way, put it away when you're running. But that was a fantastic physical effort to get that interception. And then Benny, I really, truly, I think Benny, Sticky Wicky, in the long run, will end up being the better of the two corners. In the long run.
Wow. Wow, that's a big statement.
Yeah, I think so. I think in the long run. So these guys, Coney Ealy's come a long way. Second round draft pick. Some people had him graded as high as a first round pick. He's making plays. He's making an impact on the game. Which is what we need. We need these guys to come in moments. They don't have to do it for over the course of the entire game, but when they're in there, they're 10, maybe 12 plays. They got to do something. Make an impact. Make your presence known. Sack the quarterback. Cause a sack fumble. Something like that. That's what you want to see out of your young guys.
Ken, speak on the young talent on this team. It's been a lot. It's been, in some ways, early on, a trouble spot for us. You're asking too much out of rookies. You're asking Benjamin, who is an unrefined receiver, to come in and be an immediate number one. You're asking a guy like Trey Turner, who had a very short college career. I think he only played 1 year. I mean, redshirt freshman, maybe 2 full seasons in college.
20 games he played, I believe.
20 games. How do you feel, Ken, about the youth on this team? Have they started to respond?
Yeah, in fact, as I was thinking about this just yesterday or last few days, how well the young talent is really starting to show, from the draft from this year, especially the back end of the draft. Trey Boston, he was hurt a lot of the regular season and the preseason, so he hadn't seen much. So, his snaps have been limited, but he seems to be starting to get it. Benaven Wickery, he started out as a nickel corner. Now he's playing on the outside. He's, I guess, starting. He's probably the best corner on the team, even with Josh Norman. Just because I think that Ben Wickery is really still got further to go before he starts hitting his ceiling, and he plays a lot more under control. Josh Norman really needs to get himself under control when he's playing. I think that's the biggest knock on him.
Let's touch on that for a moment. And right before that, look, T Money's providing us with some gems about the Pro Bowl. Okay. Only 2 starters, Luke Kuechly and who was the other I said? Greg Olsen. Only 2 starters from the NFC South besides Hester as a returner. McCoy and Julio are alternates.
Nice.
So that's a nice dynamic to this story, is that the Panthers, with all this struggle, seem to have the best, are getting some, got some good guys on the field still. Let's talk about Josh Norman. You got a guy that's got all this talent in the world, it seems like. It's strange he went to Coastal Carolina. I still don't understand that. Like, is that such a athletic, long kid? I mean, he's 6'5", and he can run with the best of them. He has good football instincts, it seems like. He was in, like Joey said, the doghouse last year after that Buffalo game. Really didn't play anymore. We had a good mix of veterans. We've needed him this year. He's made some great plays, but then right when he makes a great play, he does something that is about as boneheaded as it can get in many ways. I want to say, though, that will he become elite in this league, do you think? And is the only thing stopping him himself?
I think so.
And I'll let Ken start it off.
Well, I think he's more closer to about 6 feet, but that's still pretty good size for a corner. He reminds me of the guy from the Dolphins that went to the Colts, Vernon Davis's brother, Vontae Davis.
Yeah.
Got all this talent in the world and just can't quite put it together. Although he's starting to this year, Davis is. I kind of see Josh as being on that type of career path. He's a few years into the league now. He's got all this talent, like everybody says, and he still doesn't play under control. And that tells me he's probably difficult to coach. So I think the jury's going to be out on him until he actually shows that he can get this, maybe channel that emotion into a more productive way than doing things than getting 2 or 3 15-yard penalties every game, whatever it is.
Joey, he's 27 years old right now. He hasn't played very much, but he's not. I mean, he's a little long in the tooth if you think about it. I mean, not long. I mean, he's still got a long way to go in his career, but sometimes I feel like we're talking about him being a rookie and still needing so much development. I mean, he's 27 is no spring chicken in this league. Can he get over? Will he kind of evolve into that next level, or is he too difficult to coach? One of the things to consider too, has he really been that repentant for some of these errors that he's made?
He seems Steve Smith-like in the regard of the passion and how he plays wearing his emotions on his sleeve. Steve Smith took a little while to learn to control that, and then you use the word control in the loosest sense of the word. I think he 27 is not old, but he's not a rookie like you're saying. I think he's just coming into the prime of his career where physically your body is as fine-tuned as it can be, and the mental side of the game is going to start to really click. And that's what we have to hope for. That the maturity, it's a maturity issue, is really what it boils down to. Are you mature enough to be able to control yourself, or do you let your temper get the better of you like a child? Because that's what children do. Children let their emotions get the control of them, and they act out. Where adults, most of the time, are able to control the anger or frustration or whatever they may be feeling and not act out. So that's what we're talking about. He has the talent to become a top-tier corner. I don't know if we'll be able to call him elite, but he'll be one of the top. He has the talent to become one of the top corners. It's just a question of, will he grow up enough to do it?
For me, I think that the one thing that can help Josh Norman grow faster is the one thing he hasn't had until this season, and that's playing time. He does. I think this is the only. Some people need to learn lessons certain ways, and you can have a coach yelling on the sidelines or yelling at you about discipline, about this and that, and tuck the ball. But sometimes you just have to learn. The Deshaun Jackson learned when he dropped the ball right before he entered the end zone. You remember that play? What receivers do when they're running in and they start celebrating before they get in the end zone.
Yeah.
Some players need to
learn. His first career TE too. I remember it was like on Monday night or Sunday night. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what you get is, I think some people need to learn in that fashion, and I feel like Josh Norman might be that type of guy. I think that he's going to have to learn the hard way in a couple instances. But I was watching last night's football game, which I called the upset, the Cincinnati Bengals over the Denver Broncos. I was pretty happy about that. And Talib Aqib, always whatever his name is, I always forget it switched because there is a rapper, Talib now I don't even know what I'm talking about.
It's Talib Kweli is the rapper, and it's Aqib Talib that is
the football player. And he made a pick last night, nowhere in the range of what Josh Norman did, but then he started running, and it was a pick six. And he ran it just like Josh Norman did, just like Charles Woodson has done in the past. So, you get frustrated, you get mad as can be, but he's really performed against some top-level guys. We were talking about this last night on Straight Facts with T-Money, is that, he's played Julio, he's played Charles Johnson from the Vikings, he's played against Mike Evans, and now Josh Gordon, and he's held all of those guys to like 112 yards and a touchdown. So he's been doing a pretty good job. Another guy that stuck out to me though as a young player that's really starting to shine on this team is Kawan Short. Really
Mm-hmm.
made a huge sack against Brian Hoyer that injured him in that game to put them from a second and manageable to a third and 21. How have you guys seen his performance in comparison to Starr? And I'll let Ken open this up.
Well, the thing about the two defensive tackle spots is they kind of have different jobs. K1's is more to penetrate and disrupt, whereas Starr's is more to hold up and stuff the run and make them, harder to run up the middle. But that having been said, I think Short has really distinguished himself. More this year. He's kind of broken away a little bit, and as far as making the scene and making an impact on the team. He's really, in the last month or so, seems like maybe even longer than that for this year. But he really seems like he's come into his own, and I'm really excited to see where he can take it from here. Warren Sapp, who knows?
Yeah, I've actually, there's going to be a piece coming out tomorrow on CarolinaCatChronicles.com called K1 Short's Star Shines in 2014. And, when you really look at what this guy has done, he didn't get into the starting rotation until like week 8 or 9 whenever we played the Seattle Seahawks. And he really hasn't looked back since. He's played a lot of meaningful snaps and made a lot of meaningful plays. While Star Latule's production has declined this season, and like Kim was saying, there's a number of factors. One being that he doesn't have a sack yet this season, guys, and because the nature of his play, he's known as a run stopper. But one of the things that he's missed 3 games this season. Now, technically, he's only missed 2 full games, but he missed a half game when he went out for an injury, and he only played 14 snaps against the New Orleans Saints. So, you see his snap production down. I feel like K1 Short has really stepped up and filled a lot of that void. I mean, when you look at the metrics, he's done very well. Joey, how do you feel about this defensive line? You've got Charles Johnson coming on late in the season. Maybe you've got K1 Short coming into his own. And even Coney Ely is starting to show some moments. How do you feel about this defensive line going forward against Atlanta as well as farther?
Well, I'm excited. Atlanta's been one that's had some offensive line issues as well. Maybe at one point their offensive line was possibly worse than ours at one point. They seem to have righted the ship to some degree. Drafting a player the caliber of Jake Matthews is going to, help, and he certainly is coming into his own as a tackle. But I like our chances. I like the idea of us being able to get after Meg Ryan and really make it difficult on him. So much of our defense is predicated on pressuring the quarterback. And in the past, our secondary has been the liability. But if we're able to pressure the quarterback with the play that our secondary is giving us now, I expect there to be plenty of turnovers in this game. You mentioned those 3 guys, but also Starr. Starr has come back, and he's actually healthy. So we should see better run stoppage. And every now and then he can bust through and get after the quarterback. And with him being there in the middle to occupy blocks, we'll see better play out of Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis because they'll be more free to run and make plays. Then we'll have to worry about guards getting to that second level.
All right, we're going to jump in and go ahead and start talking about the upcoming matchup. But before that, if you need tickets to a Panthers game, folks, a sporting event, a concert, get them through Ticket Monster. Cheap tickets, no fees, all created by fans. Just go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and select the Schedule tab and click Buy Tickets. It takes you to Ticket Monster. You get your tickets with no fees. You have a blast, and Ticket Monster helps us grow by giving us a small reward for sending you there. It's that simple with no added cost. Just go to CarolinaCatChronicles.com and select the Schedule tab and click Buy Tickets. Guys, big week for us in the Carolina Panthers going to Atlanta. I think before we should do that, we have some congratulations. It was a big week in the C3 world as well, where we wrapped up the first inaugural C3 Fantasy Football Champion, and we have a winner who is one of the greatest members of Panther Nation. Ken, the commish, will you announce it? I should have gotten a drum roll.
That's all right. I've been tweeting it the last couple of days. So it's the team Not So Lazy Susans. She won the first championship game this past weekend, and she had a 6-point lead with one player left to play. That was C.J. Anderson of Denver Broncos, and I kept poking at her about, well, you know, he could always have 3 fumbles and 1 carry for -5 yards or something. You know, she goes, "Oh my gosh, I didn't think of that." It was funny, but yeah.
We were talking clock management skills. Should she have sat him? Oh, big winner. She was a big winner. 48 teams in this. She beat out 47 other teams to claim first prize, which is $300 and a sweet Kelvin Benjamin jersey. So big congrats to the Not So Lazy Susans. You can always find her on Twitter talking about the Carolina Panthers. I'm real stoked about that. Joey, how did you feel when you saw that Susan was the winner of this game?
I was very happy because she has been a big fan and a big supporter of C3 since we really have started this thing. So I was happy that she won it. She earned it. I thought it was very cool that she was the one to win the whole spiel. And congratulations to her. It's going to be a Merry Christmas for her because she's the champion and she's going to get $300 to spend after Christmas and a Kelvin Benjamin jersey. How nice is that?
So big congrats. It really went much smoother than we expected it to go this season. And so we can see some big-time improvements coming for next season. So, guys, check it out, the C3 Fantasy Football tab on the website. A lot of great coverage by the commish this season. We're going to recruit some other people to give them some help as well next season and see what we can do to improve it going forward. But let's jump in, guys. Playoffs are on the line. We go to the Atlanta Falcons. Joey, what's the one thing that you're going to be wanting to see out of this Carolina Panthers team that you think can help us get this win?
For me personally, it's going to be running the ball. I want to see us run and run and run and then run some more. I want Jonathan Stewart to pound that Atlanta defense. I saw a real interesting statistic the other day. It said Jonathan Stewart was ranked 45th in rushing yards 4 weeks ago. You know where he's at now?
8th.
18th.
Oh,
which is good. I mean, that's great.
Yes.
In 4 weeks, he's managed to go from 45th to 18th. That speaks to the quality of blocking play we've been getting from our offensive line. And he's healthy.
Last month or so, he's been a borderline top 10 running back.
Yes, and he's healthy, and it's showing. He's finally healthy, and you can see it. And we're a different team with him in the backfield. We are a completely different team, and that's what I want to see. I want to see a heavy dose of Jonathan Stewart with the sprinkling of Cam Newton.
Don't forget about Tolbert.
Yeah.
He had a couple of 15-yard runs there that I was noticing, especially they'd hit him and he'd fall forward and get 5 yards after the hit just by being Tolbert.
Right.
Falling forward and dragging a guy a couple yards and then hitting the ground. So
listen to these numbers since the Minnesota game for Jonathan Stewart. 85 yards on the ground, 12 carries. 20 carries against New Orleans for 155 yards, 22 carries for 75 yards against Tampa, and 24 for 122 against Cleveland. He has been a very important part of this offense. But here's one thing, too, to consider with this, Joey, and one of the things about this offensive line is while they're playing together, what you don't necessarily see is them being that good yet. It's not like they are road grading out there and really opening up huge lanes. Is Jonathan Stewart's had to work hard for these yards. He's put a lot of second and third and fourth efforts forward. And if you look at this one game that's kind of the low aberration, the 22 for 75 against Tampa, what's the one thing there that's changed in that game, guys?
No Cam.
No Cam Newton. And Ken, can you speak on what you've seen with Cam Newton and how we've used him to open up Carolina's running game for Jonathan Stewart?
Well, the thing is, Cam's reputation precedes him. As a dual threat quarterback, he can attack any area, area on the field with his strong arm through the air, and 250 pounds coming at you as fast as he runs, sub 4.6. Come on. I've said this I don't know how many times. Pick your poison. So he since he's always got that extra threat that a lot of teams don't have, then yeah, it's going to open up things for other people because of the attention that Cam necessarily draws from the other defense. So
you have to respect his ability to run.
Yep.
You have to respect it. You cannot disregard it completely. Even with the injury he has, you have to respect that ability. You have to have one eye on Cam Newton and one eye on whoever you're covering, or he's going to make you look foolish.
Mm-hmm.
And that's invaluable because that makes it easier, like you said, Ken, for everybody else, for Jonathan Stewart, for Mike Tolbert, for the receivers, Greg Olsen. And, I want to say this about Greg Olsen, Tony. You were talking about him earlier and how he's not flashy or anything like that. There was a term that was used when I was younger with certain hard-working NFLers, and that was he's a lunch pail guy. He's a guy that's just going to bring his lunch, and he's going to go out there and he's going to work.
Mm-hmm. I almost said that earlier. In fact,
that's what Greg Olsen is. He's a lunch pail guy. He's going to bring his lunch pail, and he's going to go to work. And that's something that is invaluable because you see those guys who have all the talent in the world and rely so heavily on their talent. If they see him putting in the work and getting the production that he does, it should be an example, serve an example for them. Hey, if I do that, work that hard with my talent, then I'm going to be, I can be great. And that's what I appreciate about Greg Olsen.
Yeah.
One thing about Greg Olsen that I like is that he really, if there's a fan of Cam Newton, I feel like it is Greg Olsen. And that to me says a lot about Cam Newton. That kind of strips away at some of the ideas that we have from the outside looking in. Cam Newton is his own guy. We talked with Charlotte Vibe about this and how he is as a leader, and he's kind of his own soul a little bit, and he likes to maintain that individuality. It's not a selfishness. I think he's, cautious to open up in many ways. And Greg Olsen, he likes Cam, and he defends Cam, and it goes beyond just the regular what you have to do for your quarterback. So that speaks a lot to me as well. Greg Olsen, wouldn't he be great if he was a number 2 tight end?
Oh, Jesus.
That would be – I would love to see us try – I think we're going to really have to start thinking about grooming a tight end very shortly in the future, very soon, or else, I feel, you got to worry about how do you replace his production if it starts to decline. Now let's talk about Cam Newton while we're on that subject. We talked about his ability to run, how he changes the running game, guys. He also looked pretty dialed in to me against Cleveland. Other than 2 poor plays, maybe 3, one dangerous throw he got away with, I felt like coming off a missed game, I was really impressed. How do you see that translating into future success in Atlanta and going forward, Joey?
I was impressed with how well he played, considering, he was just that was a serious car accident. That's not a fender bender we're talking about. That was a very serious car accident. He came in and looked pretty good for the most part. You saw you could tell he had missed a week. You know, he wasn't super sharp, super crisp, but he looked good. I expect this week he's really going to be on point. I really expect him to have a very good game against Atlanta this week, both on the ground and in the air. I expect him to make very good throws and make good decisions. The one throw he had that was intercepted by the defensive line, wasn't that ball deflected, or didn't somebody get a hand on his hand?
That's what I think it was.
Something about that. If you didn't, I was going to say something. His hand was good.
Right, and I think otherwise he would have either thrown it out of bounds or, you know, at least gotten it close to the receiver. It was just the fact that somebody hit it that it got intercepted. So you really can't put that on him 100%. But I am looking for him to have a big game this week against the Falcons. I can't wait, man. I'm telling you, I am so pumped for this game.
It's crazy to be that jazzed in this season. It's nice to have this excitement. In fact, I don't know if Joey has been like this since we were in Detroit. I mean, not in Detroit, since we faced Detroit, and we were at that game, me and Joey together. And I don't know if I've seen him this excited since then. So that's something good. Cam Newton, you know, we heard so much about let's put Derek Anderson in for the rest of the season and protect Cam. Let's talk about, Joey, you were a little bit in that camp, just a little bit, about having him try to beat Cleveland with Derek Anderson. Given now, with a little hindsight and how well Cam played, are you happy to see him back at the helm?
You me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was hoping he would play. You know, we got something to play for, and you know, if you got a franchise quarterback, you want him out there. I mean, you know, any talk of sitting a guy just on the thought that he might not be 100%. Well, you know, hello, nobody's 100% this time of year. So, you know, for whatever reason, you've got to put your best. You know, your best guys in there. And Cam, you know, I mean, Derek Anderson's one of the better backup quarterbacks, but he's a backup quarterback. That's why you want Cam Newton in there. That's why you drafted him number one.
What did you think about the mechanics? What did you think about the mechanics in this past game? He seemed to be much more fluid than usual, you know, and settled.
Yeah, he seemed kind of looser out there. I mean, it didn't seem all, you know, tight and you know, worried about, you know, the feeling pressure or whatever. He was just out there playing the game, and it came across. You know, we saw him smiling a bunch of times out there. He was having fun, and it showed. And I think when he's doing that, that's when he plays his best ball. So if he can carry that in. And another thing I think was a little bit a part of his success was, I think maybe he caught the other team by surprise a little bit, the defense, by just how well he was feeling and how, you know, how hard he was running and how often he was running, you know, early on, and just looking like his old self. Maybe they were expecting a little bit different game plan or a little more conservative calling because of the accident. Maybe he was not feeling 100%, but he sure didn't play like that. So,
Joey, you wanted to jump in there and mention and discuss the DA situation.
Yeah, I was going to say I was the DA for not wanting Derek Anderson. I mean, for not wanting Cam to step in and play. Well
played.
I think, you know, that's
the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Exactly. Exactly. You know, I was just concerned because, you know, I guess you don't want to take any unnecessary chances. But obviously they saw in practice that he was moving okay, that he was not in any way apprehensive about getting contact or throwing the ball, and they felt confident putting him in there, and I'm glad that they did because he did make a difference in the ball game.
All right, we got to push through these last two segments. We got about 7 minutes before we got to wrap it up. Guys, I want to ask the one thing. I'm going to ask you the one thing you're excited about, you think that we have going for us into Atlanta, and the one thing you're also concerned about in the match. Joey, I'll open it up to you. What's one good thing about this team in this matchup against the Atlanta Falcons specifically?
One good thing about this matchup against the Atlanta Falcons will be our defensive line against their offensive line. I really like our rotation right now. I think we've got a good crew coming in and out of there, and I think we'll be able to really put some pressure on Matt Ryan, and I think we'll be able to nullify their run game to make them one-dimensional, and then we can really go after it.
How about one thing that you think that Atlanta might hold the advantage, or what you are concerned about?
One area I know Atlanta holds the advantage, and I hope it doesn't come down to this again, is field goals. Their kicker, I believe his name is Matt Bryant, I believe is his name.
Yep.
He is one of the best kickers in the NFL, flat out. He has a leg. And I don't know if you saw it or not in my 3 up, 3 down. In my 3 down, I mentioned how Graham Gano has missed 6 field goals this season. One of them was a block, but still missing 6 field goals by your kicker, that's a surprisingly high number. And it concerned me. That's all I'm saying.
Missed 2 against Atlanta the last game.
Right.
One we can't really count against him because it was a 65-yarder that had no chance, and he was going to miss it anyway. Ken, positive and negative about this matchup going forward?
Well, positive is I think Jonathan Stewart's play. And I think that, like Joey was talking about, wanting to run some more. Atlanta, excuse me, we know does not have any chance at having a dominant defensive outing where we do. So if we can get him going, get a lead, get him going, and shorten the game, just get out of there, then I think that'll be great. Momentum heading into the playoffs. Just as far as negative, I don't see the kickers really being that big of a deal. I was looking at them earlier. Graham Gano's missed 6 field goals. Matt Bryant's missed 3. Bryant kicks half his games in a dome. So,
but he will be playing in a dome this week.
Yeah.
Well, so will Graham. So he gets 72 degrees no wind too. So it's going to help him. Even if he has to try a 65-yarder, let's hope not. But the negative, I'm still worried a little bit about the edge of the offensive line, the tackle play. I just don't trust Byron Bell specifically. Atlanta doesn't really have a dominant pass rusher, but let's face it, Byron Bell's been known to make you a dominant pass rusher. So.
And Ken, you're making a really good point, because last week against the Saints, Atlanta was able to get after Drew Brees. Now, albeit it is the Saints. But he was able.
They're missing their left tackle, Teron Armstead. He was hurt, so maybe that has.
Right. And they were able to pressure Breeze. So, like you're saying, Byron Bell could be that weak link, and that could make it. Go ahead.
I'm going to jump in.
Hello. Hey.
Hear me, Ken?
Just now I can start. I can hear you again.
Okay, I froze up, obviously. Thanks for pointing that out, Ken. My positive in this is the offensive line. I think that it was
You're keeping him in check.
Yeah. The Minnesota game is when they came back. Is when we got this rotation or this set of guys. So I think that's going to be a positive. I think the negative. There's two for me that I'm worried about. Julio Jones. He's a hard guy to stop in any scenario. But let's go ahead and say this: is you're going to put Norman on him, and we got Ben A, who we did not have in the last matchup. So I think that's a positive in some ways for our defense that we didn't have before. But for me, this comes down to special teams guys, and it's not just in the form of kicking field goals, but as well as the inability for us to get good field position. Guys are get good returns against us, and we don't get good returns against them.
Yep.
So I want to see that. That's something I'm going to be looking forward to specifically. All right, last minute of the show, guys, and we got to get out of here because Southbound and Down will be starting right at 9:30. We are going to skip my favorite segment of Fact and Fiction, and we're going to go to the original, the OG segment, the Ice Up segment of the week. Joey, do you got an Ice Up pick for us?
My Ice Up pick this week will be... God, I don't have one, Tony. Maybe Ken has one while I'm thinking.
I will jump in there while you guys think. My Ice Up pick of the week goes to Graham Gano. And it really comes down to this, is that, you got cut from the Washington Redskins. You came here, and you really had such a good season last year, and that helped us tremendously. We need you to get back on track. This offense is not potent enough in the red zone to blow any scoring opportunities, even field goals. You get paid the big bucks, son, so get out there and kick those 40-yarders, all right? Graham Gano, ice up, son.
Ice up, son.
All right.
I'm ready now.
All right, 30 seconds. 30 seconds, Joey.
All right, here we go. My Ice Up, son. My Ice Up pick of the week goes to the Saints, Keenan Allen. He is their defensive back that was talking trash to the Atlanta Falcons receivers and talking about how they were going to have a funeral in New Orleans for the Falcons. And it ended up he was late for his own funeral because he got toasted and burnt and smoked by Julio Jones throughout the game. And the Saints lost 5 in a row at home, this supposedly hallowed ground where the Saints can't lose. Well, guess what? You're 0-5 in your last 5, baby. So ice up, Keenan Allen. Watch your mouth. Put your money where your mouth is or don't open it. Ice up, son.
Hey, Cal Turd, you are just... I don't even have a name for you anymore, except Cal Turd.
Ice up, Keenan Allen. All right, Ken, you got 15 seconds. Ice up pick.
Oh, goodness. All right. Well, let's just get to the point. Josh Norman, grow up. Get your temper under control. Make you play. Look like a pro. Look like you've been there before. So far, Josh Norman, ice up, son.
Ice up, John.
Well done. This is the C3 podcast. We got to jump out of here, guys. Everybody check us out at CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Thanks for all the help. Merry Christmas. Congratulations. Not so lazy Susans. The big champ. Spend your money. I won't mind if we go out and party on your dime. All right. That's it, fellas. We'll catch y'all later.